y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to a very short review, because the palette we're reviewing, it ain't that big, and we'll honestly talk about that later in the review. But today we are going over the Melt Cosmetics new, I'm not sure how new it's gonna be by the time I get this shiz up here. This is the She's in Parties palette, which is another extension palette of their original She's in Parties stack, which in all honesty, if they're moving forward by taking their stacks and turning them into full-fledged palettes, which they did with the Rust one, and I know the electric palette, which is also this size, or not electric, neon, that's Urban Decay, that bright one that I reviewed, that's also in this size. I don't think that one's an extension of any particular stack. I could be wrong, but like I said, if they're moving forward and continuing to take their stacks, which are typically, I believe, 4 shades, and like taking that theme and then running with it, I am all here for that shiz. That being said, I do wish that if they continued to do that, they would make them in the same size as the Rust one, the Gemini, the 420, the 27. I wish that they would take and extend them to that size rather than this size. But like I said, we'll get to that further in the video. This is the bad boy right here. I don't think it's limited edition. This is the moment where I totally understand that I am not the best whatever YouTuber, because every time I come up here on with a palette, I'm like, I don't know if it's limited edition or not. I will leave it linked down below. We've got it from Melt Cosmetics. It is available at Sephora. The packaging on this bad boy is absolutely beautiful. It's this like purpley pinky rose typography. We got like what looks like little bat wings going on up in there. We got some hearts. It is just absolutely beautiful and very aesthetically pleasing. Now I know a lot of people did, when they see this, there was like I saw the picture and you were like, oh man, it looks like all kinds of purple, and then we saw another picture and it looked all kinds of brown. A couple of y'all posted on my Instagram that you were like, wow, that's the best picture I've seen of that shiz. So there has been some back and forth over what kind of color story this is, as well as it sharing a very similar color story to the Kat Von D Lolita palette, which honestly I'm totally fine with. Y'all would have seen in my eyeshadow palette declutter that I decluttered that shiz, so having something that's very similar to that beautiful rosy, pinky, purpley mauve color story, I'm totally okay with. Typical Melt Cosmetic price, $48, which, considering you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shades, pretty pricey. We know, we've witnessed their palettes are on that pricier price point. Typically, I would recommend the Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes that I do love. I would recommend them over Huda Beauty. I'd put them on par. You know, we got the Natasha Denona $65 palettes. For the price, their quality is really good, and I would say it does merit that higher level of money. But this is what she looks like right here. Obviously, the matte to shimmer ratio is not the best in my opinion. Your girl is a matte lover, unless you being formatted like the Natasha Denona Bronze palette shimmers. But here we have this here. Obviously, it is what I am wearing on my gothically inclined peepers today. I mean, it's just really pretty freaking simple what I did up in here. I took Total Immortal here, Last Caress all up in there, Mean Streak all up in there, and then we went in with Strange Love here. I actually highlighted my inner corner with Ofra's Pillow Talk, which is also what's on my gloriously highlighted nose. But enough chit chat, let's just get to swatching this thing and we'll talk about my opinion of the palette on a whole. All right, we've got Skeleton Kiss right here, which is the nice kind of highlighty whatever shade going on right there. All kinds of nice and pretty. Kind of like a pinkier version of the Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow in Thunderstruck. I have used this as a highlighter on my nose and on my cheeks, and it does look very pretty if they were to take this shade and just turn it into a highlighter, I would be totally fine with that. Then Strange Love right here, which I feel is more like a typical melt shimmer, where if you can see there, it's a little bit more chunky, a little bit more work. A lot of melt shimmers are very high impact, but they're also, like I said, a little bit more chunky. They're very, it's like they're dense, but they've got so much pigment that it's like, if you're familiar with the shimmer formula from the Smoke Sessions palette, that is very much how this shimmer here is formulated. It is beautiful. It's got that all kinds of duochrome situation going on. Then we have our first matte, which is Total Immortal here, which is kind of like a deeper, pinkier, rosier version of the Buon Fresco shade in the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I do think that is just a beautiful shade going on here. Y'all know that kind of shiz is my jam. If I'm doing cool tones, I think this whole just like purpley, pinky, rosy, mauvey situation, I know this is Melt Cosmetics just going off their pre-existing palettes, but I hope we see a comeback of this sort of color story, because there are a couple brands I would like to see do this particular color story. Then we have Last Caress right here. Typical for Melt Cosmetics matte shades. They are heckin' pigmented, but they also have a lot of fallout, a lot of kick up in the pan. I like to kind of kiss my brush all up in there, and then I'll just kind of gently pick up the fallout rather than pressing my brush even more into the pan. So Melt Cosmetics is definitely not what I would consider a beginner friendly formula, because there just is so much fallout and so much pigmentation, but we can't be lying that that pigmentation is not bomb diggity. Then we have the She's in Party shade, which is formulated the same as Skeleton Kiss there. Just a very straightforward red, bronzy, goldy, delicious shimmer shade. I have used this on this lower lash line here, and it's so stinking pretty. I mean, the opacity on that, you don't have to futz with it. You don't have to beg it to work. It just works for you. Typically, this is what I want whenever I want a shimmer formula from Melt. And then we have the Sleepwalk shade right here, which is basically the shimmer version of Mean Streak. I've done a look where I've literally taken Mean Streak and just all over the lid, and then I've taken that and just kind of all up in here, and it looked really pretty. So we've got Sleepwalk right here. I mean, all kinds of levels of gloriousness. I mean, they're just so pretty. They're just so creamy and smooth, and the shimmers that are formulated like this, I don't find that I get a lot of fallout. They're just so smooth and creamy, easy to manipulate, easy to blend, easy to apply. The shimmer formula, yes, sure, beginner friendly, anyone can use it. It's amazing and fantastic. But the matte one, not so much, because of all that fallout. And then Mean Streak right here, which out of all of them feels like the most, like that shiz do not feel smooth, creamy, or buttery, or soft to the touch when I'm running my finger all up in through that pan. It does also have a lot of fallout. Like, the pigmentation is beyond all levels of saturation. But that being said, you want to tread so lightly with this shade. You want to use just the titchiest best. Make sure you be knocking your brush up against that palette or wherever you need to knock it, because that can get it can get all sorts of crazy real quick. But that being said, it is a absolutely stunning shade. That rosy, purpley mauve deep concentration is just beyond gorgeous. I love it so much. Then last but not least, we have Lost Control right here, which is another just fantastically, beautifully formulated. I'm not even upset about anything and I'm having a stroke. A beautifully formulated shimmer. Now if you can see, but it's got like little rosy flecks going up in there. We'll put that bad boy right up on the top where she deserved to be. Can you see? Yeah, you can kind of see. She's just got a little hint, like she's mainly that mauvey, purpley, reddy, whatever, but she's got kind of like a hint of sparkly rosy colored, like almost like the color of my wig, and it's just like a little bit of sparkle in there, but it's not glitter. It ain't gonna get everywhere. It stays suspended within the heckin' pigment. So here we have the fantabulously short, small palette, but let me tell you, I mean, is that not the definition of like swatch porn? And for anyone who being all like, oh, your swatches, these are great. These are amazing swatches. I performed phenomenally this time around. Not that that's due to the product being heckin' pigmented and prone to absolutely fabulous swatching, but they're so pretty. I would definitely say I was about to be like, oh, which one is my favorite? And I'm like, well, there isn't a shade in this shiz that I don't love and don't think is absolutely beautiful. There's not one where I'm thinking, yeah, well, you know, that one could have been a little more this or a little more that. No, I just look at this and I'm like, yep, I'm down. I am so there. I mean, this palette just makes me all sort of happy every once in a while. Through your girls sort of going with the whole different looks and aesthetics. This is one of my ultimate forms type situation. Like this right here is what I want to say probably like 17, 18-year-old Soraya would have strived to be. And now that we have reached that level of whatever this is, it makes me beyond all kinds of happy, and that is due in part to the beauteousness of this palette. Now let's start off with the only problem I have with it, which has nothing to do with the shade range, has nothing to do with the formulation, just simply that they chose to take this beautiful color story and put it into one of these smaller palettes rather than going full on like they did with the Rust palette. While as beautiful as this color story is, I think it would have benefited, like it would have been even more amazing if they had taken it and just given it those few extra shades to add a little more depth, a little bit more dimension, just a little bit more variety, and making this just beautifulness even more. So I'm a little sad that they didn't take it and go full on, full size whateverness, instead of only just taking the 4 shades that were in the one stack and then giving us, you know, 4 more. I'm like, come on, bring it all the way. If you're gonna do Burp Squad, you're gonna take the palette and you're gonna extend it, go big or go home, just come all the way in, give us the whole spread. So that's just my personal whateverness. Like I keep saying, I wish they'd just taken it and done it in one of the larger palette formats rather than this size. Now with that being said, and that aside, I think this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. The only maybe potential like, whatever, this is the 3rd or maybe 4th time I've worn this. And as I've worn it, I've kind of got the whole like learning curve on it. I've gotten better. And one thing that I've learned, is I noticed when I used it on my initial whatever that I did experience a fair amount of fallout with this Strange Love shade right here. Because usually when I use my shimmer, I use a fairly dense, like little teeny tiny packing brush. Even with that, I noticed I got a fair amount of fallout coming up all on here. Do not do your face and then your eyes. And if you do, you need to use like 2 inches of setting powder to keep this shiz from landing right here. And if it's heckin' pigmented on your eyes, it's gonna be heckin' pigmented wherever the frig it decides to land. But that being said, I ended up trying out this Moda Glam Topper brush, which was in a kit. They had those neon brushes. It was in that set. And it's just this like little silicone whateverness. And it allowed me to just apply the shimmer so well minimal fallout, had a lot of control. You just pick it up and just smooth it on, and there it is. So I'm now going to use this for like all of my Melt Cosmetics shimmer formulas that are formulated that way, because usually a lot of them are formulated like this one. I don't gotta use nothing like this. But they do have some that have this chunkier, sort of textured, different kind of shimmy, shiny whateverness going on. And I have experienced fallout with that, so now I'm gonna use this. So if you're kind of like, about that, or you've experienced it before, definitely look into getting this brush. If I can find it by itself, I will link it down below. And while the matte's being heckin' pigmented, while also heckin' fallout, I don't see that they have any more fallout than any of the other Melt Cosmetics formulas I've tried. Their mattes are just really pigmented, and as a result of that, they produce a fair amount of kick up in the pan. But the blend is so beautiful on these. You get the pigmentation, and then you need just the ever so lightest kiss of color that you then just blend out, and it does so beautifully. I'm really happy that this palette is a super similar color story to the Lolita palette. I've actually used that little single right here, this little Lolita hybrid single shadow blush shade situation. I've used it in conjunction with this palette, and it works beautifully. I've also used this in conjunction with the Lime Crime Venus XL. I've used it with the Natasha Denona Love palette. I have used this palette in a plethora of ways. Using it by itself, using it with other palettes. Basically, I got this and I haven't put it down because it's having me live all of my dark, delicious, gothic temptress dreams. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like a legit dark lady here from Sailor Moon. I'm just like, you are such an imbecile of a man. I'm feeling myself 110%. So if you've been interested in this and you're familiar with the Melt Cosmetics formulas and you know how to work with them, this is something I would definitely recommend. Like I said, I don't consider Melt Cosmetics, it's not beginner friendly in price point or in formula, I don't feel, because there are a lot of other brands that are really pigmented and easy to blend that don't suffer from the same level of fallout that these do. So if you're just wanting to get into the little like tippy-tappy, rosy whatevers, this might not be the one for you. If I remember correctly, the KVD one was really like all whateverness as well, but the pigmentation, the blendability of that was nowhere near this. So if you're also in the boat of liking the Lolita palette color story, but you don't want to support KVD, boom. Yeah, it's not all matte and all kinds of whatever, but every shade in here is absolutely glorious. I'm honestly so happy this palette turned out this way. I mean, even for just having that like simple 1, 2, 3 matte shimmer look, I've reached for it to redo this several times because I just love the way that it turns out. It's just all kinds of pretty, and it's helping me live all kinds of gothic, beautiful dreams. And if a palette can do that for me, then I'm good. I'm sold. Obviously, I'd love to hear what y'all have to say about this palette. I know a couple of you were kind of about the color story, about that matte to shimmer ratio. But a couple of you were also very excited for it. So definitely let us know down below your experience. If you got it, you're not, you're passing on it. I'd love to hear all y'all's thoughts. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real.